Hi everyone, welcome to the High Performance Reflection Series in aid of the Temple Street Children's University Hospital. Our first guest is Graham Shaw, who is the head coach of the New Zealand women's field hockey team. Graham is a former Ireland men's field hockey player and international field hockey coach. As an international field hockey player, Graham made 151 appearances for Ireland, during which time he represented his country at the 2005, 2007 and 2009 Men's EuroHockey Championships. Following his retirement as a player in 2011, Graham leaves a legacy of success behind him, coupled with an impressive list of international and club honours. Some of these include 2 EuroHockey Nations Trophies, 3 Irish Senior Cups, and a EuroHockey Club Championship, to name but a few. More recently, Graham has been applying his knowledge and skills as a hockey coach, where he has transitioned from a successful club coaching spell at Monkstown and Loreto into an international coaching career with both Ireland and New Zealand. Following coaching spells with the Ireland men's under-18 and under-21 teams, Graham moved into women's international field hockey coaching in 2013. Here he would go on to lead the Irish senior team to Hockey World League and EuroHockey Championship titles. In 2018, Graham guided the Irish women to the Women's World Cup final, winning the silver medal. Now applying his coaching skills far from home, Graham was appointed the head coach of the New Zealand Black Sticks in 2019. So from all the way from Auckland in New Zealand, I'd like to welcome you all to Graham Shaw. Graham, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the kind words.
No problem at all. Thanks a million for coming on board and supporting what we're doing.
No problem. No, my pleasure. My pleasure. I'm absolutely delighted to support and especially being able to do it all the way from New Zealand. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I'm ready to go to bed after this one, and you're ready to do a day's work. So it's crazy how the world works.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, our days start a bit earlier over here, so tend to be kind of 5:30, 6 o'clock start. So it's kind of mid-morning at the moment for me now, so not too bad.
Very good, very good. Sure, look, we might jump into a few questions, so I have for you if you don't mind.
Yeah, fire away.
Great. So the first one I have for you, Graham, is in terms of your own career, both as a player and a coach, what does high performance look like for you?
Oh, Jenny, pretty broad. What does high performance look like? I think, well, from an individual perspective, I suppose for me, it's any individual doing their role, doing their job at the highest possible level, day in, day out, and really showing consistency in how they operate, as I say, on a day-to-day basis. And that's how I would really see high performance as an individual. You can obviously explain high performance from a product point of view. So we designed to perform at a high standard. You can describe it from a team perspective, but ultimately it comes down to people having a certain set of skills, a certain set of knowledge, using that knowledge that they have gained over many years, and then performing to the very, very highest level in their field. And that's really where I would see high performance. It's a lot of people try associate it with high performance sport or the elite of the elite. To me, it's just people doing their role, doing their job as best as they possibly can to the highest performance that they can possibly do that. So we have many different high performance kind of areas within our own group and our own organization. So yeah, just trying to perform at the very, very highest level and operate within those grounds is where I see high performance. That's where I see it sits.
Very good. And I suppose that kind of leads me nicely straight into the next question I have for you in terms of high performance. And I suppose, when you look at high performance, as you said, it's, we're talking about doing everything to the best of our ability, given whatever standards you set. But in terms of the high performance itself, what do you think are the most important factors in high performance?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. Something we talk about regularly in our roles is what exactly is high performance? What's it gonna look like on a day-to-day basis? I think first of all it starts with a common purpose, a common vision, a common goal. We would start initially as a purpose that is greater and bigger than us. So it's not about a result. It's about trying to achieve something a little bit bigger than that. So we would look at high performance in that aspect is to really focus on a common purpose that we can all relate to and all aspire to achieving. So what does that look like? One of the most important factors are clear goal, clear vision, and the people that you put around yourself in order to achieve high performance. What you won't do is achieve high performance with people that are misaligned, people that maybe don't have the skill sets to be able to put across their point of view and are quite single-minded and so on. It tends to be, for me, quite an open, receptive environment where people can, really be authentic and express themselves day in, day out. And that comes with a set of behaviors and a set of kind of standards that you would set amongst yourselves within the organization, or you set amongst yourself as an individual. So yeah, the common factors for me is setting a clear goal, having a lot of goal clarity, having real clear knowledge and understanding of your roles within that, and then finding the right people. Because I think if you can have a really clear goal and really clear path and which way you want to go, everyone's clear on how to go about it, and then you put those people around you that that can really operate in a high performance environment. People that you trust, people that behave in the right way, people that represent exactly what your core purpose and core goal is. So yeah, that's probably the biggest factor that I've learned in walking into, when you walk from a player as a high performance athlete to a high performance coach. The biggest thing you probably don't realize a lot of the time is how important the management team is around you, and the type of people you put in there, and the skill sets that they would have that would almost complement each other, to allow a team to really function in a high performance environment. So yeah, the last thing I'd say is the environment is, so we talk about common purpose, we talk about the people and the vision and so on, but the last thing for me then is the environment that you create. And our environment creates is based again on a little bit on behaviors, but it also operates around a core set of values that you work in within your team, your organization, whatever high performance unit you're working under. So you create the right environment. A lot of people refer to as culture, with the right people around you, the right purpose, the right vision. You tend to be able to move in pretty good direction pretty quickly. It's my experience, I suppose, over a number of years is where that's kind of fallen down is the purpose hasn't been clear. People are a little bit unsure in their roles, and people tend to jump a little bit in lane then, and that causes a bit of frustration, which then causes poor behaviors, that creates a poor environment. And then we work really hard on that on a day-to-day basis in my role here, on how are we aligned to our purpose on a day-to-day basis, how we operate as individuals within trying to get that, go after that purpose and chase that vision, and what are the type of people we need in order to do that, and then what does our environment look like on a day-to-day, and do we need to check that on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis? Are we actually operating in around our core values and how we've agreed we're going to operate? So because that's ultimately going to define whether you're going to be successful or not. And yeah, so yeah, they're probably the 4 or 5 factors that I would really look at. But yeah, the biggest one I've probably learned in moving one part of the world to the other is putting people around you that you really trust and are aligned to the way you think and the way you want your environment to operate. And I think if you can get that, you give yourself a real chance. And you tend to see a lot of people, a lot of authentic people come to work and create a really cool, positive environment. And I find that once you get that, special things can happen.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think our guests or our listeners will hear a lot about that purpose piece and that vision and you know, that them particular parts in terms of factors. But you touched on something really interesting there around setting behaviors and getting the right people in around you. How do you go about setting and agreeing behaviors in a team, and maybe that ties in as well about having the right people in there to do that?
Well, I think first of all, what I would look at as a leader, as a program, is, what kind of set of core values do I operate from a day to day, from a personal point of view? Because what you need to make sure is that, how you live your life is not a complete contradiction what your purpose and your vision looks like, because it's just not going to work. It's not natural for you. And when you're doing something that's not natural for you, it's it comes across fake to me and so on. So to me, it's about trying to figure out yourself a little bit first. What's important to you, how you live your life and how you treat people and so on. And then you gotta figure out that maybe in an areas, from amongst yourself, where maybe you need a bit of support, where you're going to need a bit of expertise in around yourself to enable you to create this environment. So I think first and foremost, know a lot about yourself. Second of all, then realize what you need and what you don't have in order for you to bring in and support yourself. And I think if you can do that, you'll find yourself that it starts to kind of tie together quite nicely. But the biggest advice I give people in that one is know yourself. I think a lot of people go through their career actually not truly knowing exactly who they are and why they get up in the morning and why they push for whatever they push for on a day-to-day basis. And I think the first and foremost is start in the mirror, look in the mirror and figure out exactly who you are first, and then figure out what you need, what factors you need around you to enable you to run that environment. So that's been probably a big learning for me coming down here, is they really do operate in around a core set of values, and values is something spoken about a lot in an operation from a day-to-day point of view, and they're constantly checking themselves and reflecting on themselves and as an organization, as an individuals, and how they operate and so on. So it's it's been a big eye opener for me. But when you get it right, when you get people really operating under a core set of values and everyone agrees on them, and it takes a bit of time. I think people, sometimes you go into a high performance environment and people just presume that everyone knows how you should behave and how you should react and how you should carry on a day-to-day basis. But I firmly believe actually going through it all in real detail, so it's real clarity. Everyone really understands the environment, and that motivates them to do a really good job day to day. But so yeah, you talk about behaviors. To me, it needs to be really worked out amongst the group exactly what that's going to look like. What's it going to feel like? What's it going to look like every single day? Because if you can get that bit right, I think you're on a good road to a really strong high performance environment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore. And I think, both myself and my listeners will take a lot from that simple piece about knowing yourself, before you look elsewhere. There's a question, actually, I always said to myself, if I ever got chatting to you, I wanted to put it to you. High performance, when you look at your record and you look at, particularly with the Irish ladies getting to the World Cup final, and, the New Zealand women since, correct me if I'm wrong, qualifying for qualifying straight out from the Olympics for the first time in 4 years. They're obviously you're good at creating high performance environments. But what stood out for me was that moment. It was one of them moments where you always remember where you were, when the Irish women were standing up for the World Cup final and they were singing the national anthem. And what struck me most was, here's a group of girls that are going out on the biggest stage of all time, and every one of them are smiling from ear to ear. And it just exuded enjoyment and satisfaction. And for me, that just pointed towards something. And I suppose my question really to you is enjoyment a big part for you in terms of the culture?
Yeah, it's probably, don't want to put it at the very, very top, but I'd say it's potentially in the top 2 or 3. Enjoyment is key to me in life. So it's again about knowing you as a person. I find as a person, if I'm not enjoying things and finding life a little bit difficult, then you don't get the best out of me. You don't get the best out of me as a husband. You don't get the best out of me as a dad. You don't get the best out of me as a hockey coach. So to me, it's about creating environments that where you can be yourself and you can have fun and have incredible experiences along the way in doing it. And life is no different to me than work in that. So to me, again, it just goes back to creating an environment where people can come in and be themselves, be authentic. No fear of being judged or anything like that. Creating an environment that is full of true acceptance of each individual and each individual's strengths and personality that they're going to bring to your squad. So if you create that environment and you work really, really, really hard on it, what tends to happen is people tend to relax a little bit, tend to turn up to training, wanting to be there and wanting to push themselves harder, wanting to make themselves better, but not for them, for the greater purpose and for their teammates. And it's not about me getting better for me, it's me getting better to help the person beside me. And again, if you create that environment day to day, it makes life and work just a little bit more enjoyable to go into. And we all know when we're in those environments, when you're in a strong work environment where there's a good element of laughter, smiles, but there's a hell of a lot of growth and drive at the same time, where people are pushing each other every single day. But you can certainly do that by having a lot of fun at the same time. So I think when we reflect back on that Irish that campaign in particular, the 2018 campaign is one thing we can certainly say, looking back, because we got the environment absolutely spot on, and people turned up to play in a tournament that they had chased for their whole lives. And to be honest, even in the first game, I think a lot of them were just absolutely delighted to be there, to play in their very first World Cup, not so far away from home, where a lot of their people that had a massive influence on their lives could support them and so on. And I think you could just see that in their faces, when you chase something that hard and you dedicate your life to it, and then you're operating in an environment where you thoroughly enjoy and love to be. Well, what else do you want then? Putting on your national jersey and walking out and representing the people of Ireland and trying to do them proud. I think I think when we reflect on it, that's what we talk about a lot, is just how much fun we had and incredible memories. Pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, I can't imagine what it's like for you, because it's certainly a memory for me. And as I said, just seeing an Irish athlete smiling from ear to ear, singing their national anthem at a World Cup final is something that I certainly won't forget. And it's a testament to, as you said, the culture that you obviously had there. So that brings us, you spoke about a little bit of reflection, and that brings us nicely then onto our next question for you, Graham. So that is, how important has reflection been for you?
Wow. Yeah, pretty pretty huge actually. I think I've got better at it as I've got older. I think you know, when you're a younger guy and people talk about reflection, you kind of tend to think it's not something I should be doing at a younger age. But then maybe subconsciously you probably are doing it a little bit when you're younger, and particularly, you know, when you're in a playing environment. You know, you probably don't have the responsibilities that I have now as in my 40s with a family and so on. When you're in your 20s, you just play and you're enjoying life and so on. Is you know, the only reflection I was probably doing then is you know, game reflection on how we played on the game on a Saturday, or maybe some personal reflection on what's going on in your life, but it probably wasn't as in depth as what it is now. Yeah, reflection now is probably one of our number one tools used in high performance sport, because if we're not, you know, reflection to me is an integral part of a learning process, and if we're not learning and developing day in, day out through reflection, yeah, I don't know how we move forward. It's a pretty difficult thing to do, and when you're running a program with, you know, 35 elite athletes and 20 elite staff, it's high performance staff, you need to be reflecting quite regularly and making sure that we are, you know, again, are we online to, or are we living what our purpose is on a day-to-day basis? Are we living to our core values on our day-to-day? Are we living to are we playing and training to our key set of characteristics that we want to train day in, day out, that makes us us? So you know, we reflect on so many different ways, and that's just on a day-to-day. We reflect on games. I reflect on campaigns. I reflect on tours. I reflect on the whole program. You know, we do a reflection piece every 3 months over here, where I ask for the players to give me yes, their reflections effectively on the last 3 months. I did it the same with the staff. We correlate it all together, and then we try agree on certain areas that maybe we haven't done as well, areas that we have done well, and then try and make changes or continue to develop the areas that have been going well over the next 3 months. And that's a quarterly thing that we do every 3 months over here. And it's to me, it's absolutely key to making the improvements that we need in order to put ourselves in a position to win world medals. So you know, I've just gone through a whole reflection piece just there about 2 months ago, just on the first 3 months of the year. That was the first 2.5 months really, with everything that happened, but and the learnings we're taking out of that have been huge. So I think you know, that's reflection as a group and a team and an organization. And then from a personal point of view, I think when you find yourself in any kind of leadership role, if you're not reflecting and you're just steaming ahead without looking back and learning from things that have happened in the past, I think you're setting yourself up for a pretty big fall in the future. So yeah, massive part of I think high performance sport in particular, but I think high performance environments in general, is reflecting and learning. And if we can do that and not take anything personal, take the learnings out of it and move forward, yeah, you find you in a pretty strong positive environment. So probably haven't answered that the way I would like to answer it, but it's yeah, it is very, very important on teaching me and guiding me on how the future should look like.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I suppose I'm curious to know, Graham, have you any criteria, or have you found yourself reflecting towards maybe what went wrong or what didn't go so well, or do you more reflect on what went well, or has maybe reflecting on the not so good has that had any impact on you in the past?
Yeah, I think you do both, really. I think naively, it's like anything in life, isn't it? Like everyone has played a bit of sport throughout their lives, and you lose a big game or you lose a game, and you go in and everyone's thinking about it and everyone's trying to analyze every single moment, and then you win the game. And I don't know what environment you grew up in, but it was into the pub and have a few pints and not really talk about why you won the game and why it went well. So I think it's really important. Let's just give you a simple example in our world, but that can relate to the program, the organization, to absolutely everything. When things are going well, you still got to reflect and figure out what's going well, and continue to develop them, because it's a massive part of trying to develop a high performance environment, is work really, really hard on your strengths. And that's what you're good at, and you got to keep focusing on that. So when things are going well, reflect on that, but also then, when things are not going well, we got to be able to reflect and take the learnings from it. I think, having a better understanding of your emotions, your strengths, your weaknesses, your driving factors is huge. And I think, naively, if you're not reflecting on it and really taking a lot of learnings from different aspects of what's going on, I find it difficult to think how you move forward, really, because to me, life is all about learning and moving forward, and taking a positive approach on it. And sometimes things are difficult, and sometimes things you look back and you get pretty frustrated about it. But if you try to look forward in a quite a positive manner and try to learn from it, I think you live in your life a pretty good way then, and you tend to put yourself in a position for some good high performance results.
Yeah, well said. Well said. So the next question, if you don't mind me jumping onto it, Graham, in terms of, you've spoken about so many great things there, and our listeners are going to get so much learnings from it. But in I suppose in terms of learning and developing and getting that knowledge and that awareness of all the stuff that you've already touched on, is there any particular resources or learning techniques that you have found useful that you could recommend?
Yeah, I think obviously we're living in a world now where the podcasts and everything's becoming pretty big now, and there's obviously access to so much knowledge out there now. I think when I think back to when I went into coaching myself, which was probably 15 years ago properly, and then really serious maybe 10, 12 years ago, there probably wasn't as much available to us in the coaching space, where you could really learn and you were constantly trying to research and look up papers and so on. Well, I think now you can access absolutely anything now we're just talking now from New Zealand to Ireland, so you can access things on the net and through podcasts, and there's a hell of a lot of books out there focusing on different areas. But probably the biggest learnings that I've had is peer-to-peer. It's being really proactive in around trying to seek out people that have maybe work in a similar environment, or work in a high performance environment that is very different to yours, and just trying to take a lot of learnings on how they operate in a day-to-day, and what their environment looks like, and how their the people in their organization or their management team operate on a day-to-day basis. What do their behaviors look like? What does the environment feel and sense and look like when you walk in? And to me, that's been the biggest learnings that I've definitely taken, has been peer-to-peer. I think being able to sit down and talk on a similar level to somebody and preparing for that, actually walking in and trying to get a few things, you're trying to get a few learnings out of this, has been without a doubt the greatest learnings. And I've been very lucky that some pretty powerful people in the sporting world have allowed me into their environments, and where I've been able to go in and just see how they operate and how they manage certain situations and how they motivate people. And and just just as I said, just how their day-to-day organization works. I think that's been probably the biggest learning that I've taken since starting. I was very, very lucky to be involved in a pursuit of excellence program that the Institute of Sport put in place. A good few years ago now. Time's flying. But I remember, getting the opportunity just to even sit down with many different Olympic sports, many different performance directors, head coaches, assistant coaches, or just practitioners, expertise in their fields, and just being able to sit with them and learn from their experiences and just talk openly, and having that trust and so on, just talk openly around things you've experienced in your environment. And I think we all find when you meet somebody that's a high performance person, the first thing you notice about them is how genuine they are and how willing they are to share and open up and talk about their experiences. And to me, that's the best knowledge that you can and best learnings that you can take over a book or a podcast or something like that, because sometimes they're obviously rehearsed or they're prepared or so on, while when you sit down face to face and really get into some nitty gritty conversations and ask some good questions, you tend to get a lot from those. So peer to peer is without a doubt. So what I'd just say to people is be proactive about it. Really, really sit down and start to map out exactly, areas where you have a bit of an interest in, areas where you feel like you can grow and you need to grow in, and areas that you feel that maybe you want to do things a little bit different, and then seek out a bit of peer-to-peer support, and you'll find that is incredibly rewarding. I found that incredibly rewarding over many years now. So short answer, I know, but peer-to-peer is the biggest one I would recommend.
Very good, yeah. And I think I'd be interested to know, like, you've talked a lot about what probably now is the basics of high performance, if you want to say it, in terms of collective, purposes and visions and strategies and non-negotiable behaviors and values and this kind of stuff. But I suppose, did you pick all that up through peer-to-peer, or was that some stuff? There was that stuff that you would have learned by experience or by research, or how would you have picked up them kind of essentials now effectively of high performance?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably picking them up subconsciously throughout your whole career. I think when you play international, I played international sports in general. I was played a lot from the age of 16, 17. So I think when you're a part of these environments for quite a long time, and I tend to surround myself with other people that tend to work in other high performance environments, you just tend to probably, just in the personality that I am, subconsciously be learning about, different ways of operating, different ways of managing, different ways of approaching things over many, many years. But naturally, I think when you go into coaching, you just take a greater interest in it. As a player, that I've always prided myself on being a positive person in an environment and creating an element of fun and allowing people to relax and be authentic within the environment. I think I would do that quite naturally as a person and as a player. But when you obviously go into coaching and management, it just requires a greater amount of skill in it. So that's natural then when you start to go seek a little bit more information and start to invest in a little bit more. When I was in my 20s, to be perfectly honest, when I retired, I hadn't got a clue what I was going to do. I was one of those ones where I just focused really, really hard on playing and so on. So it wasn't that I was preparing myself to go into coaching. It was just something that I was kind of doing side by side, and kind of had a love and a bit of a passion for it, and quite enjoyed coaching at various different ages, from young kids up, and just watching them grow and learn and so on. And that naturally just tickles a bit of interest, and then you start to kind of then look a little bit more deep into it. But I think even the things that I've learned and over many, many years now, when I still reflect back, even as a player, that probably subconsciously you were probably doing a lot of these things without the kind of theory knowledge or anything anything behind it. You know, what I was being is authentic. What I was being is trying to create an environment for my friends and my teammates that we felt that we were getting better week in, week out. But we, and it was just a cool place to be, and a place that you wanted to turn up and train really hard every day. And I think, as you get older and you find yourself in these positions, you learn a little bit more about it, and start to study a little bit more about it, and understanding just that little bit more deeply. And I think, that's probably where I've gone in the last number of years. And now I thoroughly enjoy it. Like, I really, thrive now, and really constantly looking for something's a little bit different, or thinking a little bit different than maybe the person next to me. So something I pride myself on now.
Great, really, really interesting to hear that. And there's a lot to be said, absolutely, for face-to-face, peer-to-peer interactions, as opposed to burying yourself in books as well. So that's a really interesting insight, and I'm sure our listeners will agree. I suppose before I give you the last question, I'm going to touch on the point there about rehearsals. I think it needs to be given some. I need to give you some gratitude towards and praise for yourself, the fact that this isn't rehearsed. And for our listeners' information, I said to Graham at the start of the session, are you all right with all the questions? And his reply was, I didn't look at them. We'll fire on. So, this one might upset you a little bit, but I apologize in advance if it does.
No problem at all.
So the final one for the evening or the morning, in your case, Graham, what is the most important thing that you've learned from your career to date?
Whoa. Jenny Mac. I'll probably, I'm sure your listeners will cop on quite quickly. I don't think you had to tell them that it wasn't rehearsed, because I'm probably bumbling around here talking in different directions, but I have a lot going on with we're back in lockdown here, so it's a virtual meeting after virtual meeting, as you can imagine. We've all experienced them over many years.
Absolutely.
Or many months. So what have I learned? Be authentic, and don't try be somebody else. I certainly learned that at the beginning of my coaching career, where when I started to coach, I looked like probably a mirror coach of my previous coach. You tend to just copy and model yourself on people that maybe you've admired and so on. But what I will say is, try be authentic, try be you, and try bring your personality, your flavor, to your workplace and to your environment on a day-to-day basis. Because if you're not doing that, and then that brings to the second thing, is you'll find it very, very difficult to enjoy it, because you're just being fake on a day-to-day basis, which over time wears the hell out of you, and you'll stop enjoying it. So the two first ones are being authentic, and the second one then is enjoyment. The third thing is people, and I've learned sometimes in the hard way, and on this one is put people first, and put people first over results, put people first over everything, because ultimately we're just a group of people that wake up every morning, and we all sleep the same way, we all eat similar ways, and we're just trying to do our best. We're just trying to do our best. And sometimes I've been probably a little bit overcritical, or taking that kind of old school approach, and being a bit more, probably a bit too direct, and really trying to drive people kind of in that old school manner, I suppose, and a bit of rah-rah kind of behavior. And so I think, the biggest one big thing that I constantly reflect on all the time is treating people with respect, and always bearing in mind that they are trying their best, and some things don't just work out for many different reasons. It's not just one particular thing. So the third thing would be definitely the people, putting people first, and treating people with respect all the time, and have a lot of empathy and understanding, and the word I would use a hell of a lot over here is care towards people, because I think if you can really care about the people that you work with and so on, you tend to get out of bed just a little bit quicker. You tend to get off the ground just a little bit quicker. You tend to want to react and support just a little bit quicker when you really have that care and love towards the people you work with. So yeah, that'd be the third one, and probably the most three most important to me, to be perfectly honest, is those three. And yeah, don't really have anything else really for you on that one. They're probably the biggest things I've learned. Probably then the other one then, probably obviously from a performance point of view, is try stay as balanced as you possibly can. You know, enjoy the highs, but don't enjoy them too much, and you know, you're going to just end up having a lot of lows. Don't go too low. Try to take a lot of learning from it, reflect a little bit, and then try and move on. And that's probably another thing that I've probably reflected on a lot throughout my whole career. I've been lucky enough and very fortunate enough to coach some really strong teams where we've had a lot of success. But I've also had a lot of disappointment. People constantly talk about all the success that I've had, and geez, you've done that, but there's been a hell of a lot of disappointment in there as well. Excuse me. There's been a hell of a lot of disappointment in there. So it's, yeah, being able to kind of have that balance and not getting too low and not getting too high. So they've been the biggest things that I've probably been reflecting on through my whole career.
Great, thanks a million, Graham. And you know, I'll take you on your word that you weren't prepared, but it doesn't feel like that. But anyway, I'll leave you off with that one. But no, look, it's great. It's a fantastic way to finish any session that ends with being authentic and caring and enjoy what you're doing is a pretty good one. And if more of our leaders had that insight, we'd I can't imagine the world we'd be living in now as well. So it's certainly food for thought, and I know our listeners will get massive value out of it. So I'm conscious of your time, and on that basis, I'm going to thank you sincerely for coming on board. I know your schedule is crazy at the minute, and given the current lockdown and the time zones, I on behalf of myself and our listeners and Temple Street, I just want to thank you for coming on board. And I know I speak for all myself and my family in Temple Street, and I'm sure all the country when I say that we wish you the very best of luck with your venture, and all the best with the New Zealand hockey future.
Much appreciated. And listen, I love all the work you do. You know, Temple Street's an incredible foundation, and yeah, I want to wish you all the best with it, and any support I can give in the future, please get in touch, because I'm absolutely delighted to do so. And yeah, just will wish everyone the best all back home. Hope you're all safe and well, and hopefully these times will end pretty soon, and we can get back to a little bit more normal life. So you know, thanks very much for the opportunity, and wish you all the best with it.
Great, thanks William, Graham, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So that's it for High Performance Reflections. I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. Like always, to access the videos, you can access them free of charge on our YouTube channel. Just search High Performance Reflections. That will bring you to our channel. And also, if you'd like to donate to our very worthy cause of Temple Street Children's University Hospital, you can do that through our GoFundMe page at GoFundMe. You can search again High Performance Reflections, or you can get the link directly on the GoFundMe page or the YouTube channel. So for now, all that's left to say is goodbye. I hope you enjoyed our session, and I'm looking forward to our next session. Take care, everyone.